She believed her daughter's lie, and she tossed me out like trash on a Tuesday. Now I'm back on the Round Rock porch. Lisa opens the door with that careful smile, the kind you wear to a funeral. It dies fast when my attorney steps into frame. Her hope flickers out like a porch light in a storm. Neighbors are watching. Someone's filming. I don't blink. I hand her the thick manila envelope, heavy as a verdict. Divorce petition. The word lands between us like a judge's gavel. Haley freezes on the couch, mascara dry, act over. Lisa whispers, "Mark, we can talk." "No." My voice is steady. "We tried talking when you believed the worst about me." I lean in just enough so she hears every syllable. I'm not here to apologize. I'm here to serve. If you've ever been burned by a lie, hit like so I know you're here. Subscribe and stay with me, because what comes next? It only gets louder. The shepherd learned release before sundown, mouth tight on the sleeve, then let go when I asked. Clean. Controlled. I drove home with that good, tired thinking steak on the grill, a game humming low, boots by the door. Lisa's SUV, Haley's car, ordinary picture. Inside wasn't ordinary. TV muted, a glass sweating on the counter, untouched. The air felt overbreathed, like a room after an argument. My gut took a step back before I did. I set my keys in the bowl, metal on ceramic cracked the quiet. "Lisa?" A door clicked down the hall. Footsteps measured. She came out with a face I didn't recognize. No welcome, no warmth, eyes like they'd already written the ending. That's when I saw Haley in the doorway behind her, mascara raked down her cheeks, hands shaking for an audience. Something mean moved in my chest, old and familiar, the feeling right before a storm breaks. I kept my voice steady. "What's this?" Lisa didn't blink. She pointed at Haley like a witness on the stand. "Tell him what you told me." Haley sniffed, looked anywhere but at me, then finally met my eyes. "Say it," Lisa ordered, and the house held its breath. Haley started with tears and a tremble, the kind that asks you to hate yourself first and ask questions later. "You make me uncomfortable," she said. Stares, comments, walking into her room without knocking. She threw words like paint, broad, messy, meant to stain. I kept my hands open. "When? Which night? Was anyone else home?" She blinked, reached for more crying instead of dates. I've trained enough anxious dogs to know panic from performance. This was a show. Lisa cut in, voice hard. "Don't you dare call her a liar." The verdict was printed across her face. I asked for a conversation. She wanted a confession. "The truth doesn't need me to confess," I said. "It needs you to listen." That was the spark on dry grass. "I will always choose my daughter," she said, each word a nail. Years of steady work between us, erased in under 2 minutes. I looked at Haley. She couldn't hold my eyes for more than a second. I tried once, not begging, just fact. "You know me." Lisa pointed to the door like a judge to the gallows. "Get out." I didn't move. That's when she added, cold and clean, "Leave your keys. If you're still here in 5 minutes, I'm calling the police." I took what I could carry in one hand, wallet, phone, a beat-up duffel that suddenly felt like my whole life. Lisa stood in the doorway like a border guard. "Leave your keys," she said, steady as steel. Behind her, Haley risked a glance and couldn't hide it, the tiny curl at the corner of her mouth. Satisfaction. "Restraining order," Lisa added like she was testing how far she could push. "If you come back." I set the keys in her palm, warm from my pocket, cold in her hand. I walked past both of them without brushing a shoulder. No lecture, no scene. A man can lose a house and keep his dignity. Night swallowed me on I-35. Headlights stitched the dark like white thread through a black wound. Window cracked. I let the road scrub the noise out of me. Mile after mile, I stacked facts in order and left the rest behind. At a red light, I thumbed my phone. Garrett. The one call you make when your world caves in. He picked up on the second ring. "Yeah? It's bad. Come over." I didn't beg. I didn't argue. I didn't turn back. I drove south, knuckles steady on the wheel, toward the only door I knew would open. Because tomorrow, this stops being their story and starts being mine. The door cracked open before my knuckles hit it. Garrett filled the frame, grease on his hands, worry under his eyebrows. The place smelled like oil and cold beer and the kind of quiet you can sleep in. He didn't ask for details. He looked once at my face, stepped aside, and let the room take my weight. "Need a lawyer?" he said, already at the fridge. 2 long necks clinked. "Need," I answered. The word tasted like metal. We sat at his scarred kitchen table. The AC hummed. Somewhere down the hall, a game murmured. I gave him the short version. The tears, the accusations, the door, the keys in her hand. He nodded the way men do when there's nothing helpful to say, just a promise to stay. "Take the spare room," he said. "Shower's hot. Towels are clean." I lay on a mattress that wasn't mine, stared at a ceiling that didn't judge me, and counted my breaths until they stopped tripping over themselves. Sleep came in shards. Haley's smirk, Lisa's flat eyes, the word unsafe looping like a bad song. In the dark, I texted one line from the spare bed. "Tomorrow?" His reply hit back fast. "Tomorrow, we lawyer up." And for the first time that night, I felt the floor under me hold. Downtown Austin at 9 a.m. Glass, steel, parking meters blinking red. Brennan shook my hand once and let go, then did something rare. He listened. No interruptions. No soft pity. Just a pen moving when the facts mattered. I laid it out. The tears, the door, the threat of a restraining order. He nodded like a mechanic who already knows which bolt is stripped. "Here's what happens," he said. "You document everything. Every call, every text, every attempt to bait you. You do not contact your wife or her daughter directly. All comms go through me, and we stay 2 steps ahead." I could feel my pulse drop a few beats. Orders, structure, a lane to drive in. He pushed a legal pad across the desk. "Write down dates, names, places, back up your phone, pull your calendar. If it isn't written, it didn't happen." I told him about Haley's timeline, how it didn't add up. He looked up, sharp. "Then we pin it with proof." The room went quiet the way courtrooms do before the judge walks in. He capped his pen. "You want my advice?" I said yes. "We file first," he said. "Divorce. Clean, fast, controlled." She set the fire. We set the boundaries. I walked out holding a folder and something I hadn't felt in days, a plan. Back at Garrett's, I turned the kitchen table into a war bench. Laptop, notepads, thumb drives. I started with my phone, full iCloud backup, message threads, call logs, location history. Then the boring stuff that saves you. Bank statements, tax returns, insurance, copies of the mortgage I paid on time, every time. I pulled my calendar. Sessions booked the day Haley said I crossed a line. Same hour I was on a training field 10 miles away. I dug through photos and found the weekend I taught Haley to parallel park in the Target lot. Her "thank you for being patient" text sat there like a witness who doesn't flinch. Screenshot, timestamp, saved. I opened the training app I use with clients. Video clips auto-stamped with date and GPS. There I was in a ball cap and sleeve. German Shepherd chewing the pad at the exact minute I was supposedly in her doorway. Screen recorded the metadata. Dropped it all on a labeled drive. Brennan texted, "Stack it tight. Assume a judge will read every line." I kept stacking. Emails, receipts, the small paper trail of a quiet man with nothing to hide. The more I gathered, the calmer I felt. Feelings are fog. Data is daylight. By midnight, the pile looked like a spine. I held the thumb drive up and said it out loud to the empty room. Timestamps don't lie. Morning. I went back to work. A rescue mutt with eyes like old pennies watched me from the edge of a dusty yard. Skittish. Skin and nerves in a shaking frame. I sat on the ground, let the sun warm my back, and breathed slow until he matched me. Hand out. No rush. He crept in, took the treat, flinched, came back anyway. Trust isn't a speech, it's repetition. Violet stood by the fence, arms folded against the breeze. "You all right, Mark?" she asked, careful, like setting a cup on a shaky table. "I'm okay," I said, and for the first time it wasn't a lie I told to be left alone. It was a plan I could stand in. We worked in small circles, touch, release, step away. The dog's chest stopped rattling. The leash went slack. He blinked up at me like a kid who's finally sure the hand won't hit. His breath settled into that slow, honest rhythm animals find when nobody's pretending. I scratched his neck and felt my head clear inch by inch. Out here, there were only actions and outcomes. No rumor, no theater, just cause and effect. "Good boy," I said, and meant it. Animals don't lie. People should try it sometime. I packed the sleeve, checked my phone, and saw Lisa's name lighting up. The text read, "When can you pick up your things?" No hello, no apology. Logistics, like we were splitting a dinner bill. I copied it into a new message and forwarded it to Brennan. Handle? One word. He sent back a time, a window, a note. No direct contact. I'll coordinate. I didn't answer Lisa. I didn't answer anyone. That was the rule and the boundary. It wasn't cowardice. It was control. Haley posted a story a few hours later, half a lyric about feeling unsafe, a photo of a closed door, comments turned off. Neighbors started drifting through my notifications like smoke, vague check-ins, sudden concern, the kind of curiosity that only shows up after the fire starts. I stared at the screen until the words blurred and the meaning stripped to bones. Noise, not signal. I thought of that dog's breath, steadying against my palm. I opened settings and killed the buzz. Mute for Lisa, mute for Haley, mute for everybody who hadn't stood in front of me when it mattered. The phone went quiet, the room followed, and my head finally had space to hold the facts without their voices crawling across them. Silence isn't empty. It's a tool. I put it to work. Then Brennan called. The first hit was small. A client texted to cancel. No reason, just something came up. Then a neighbor posted a vague TikTok about protecting our girls, my street in the background, comments filling with torch and pitchfork emojis from people who don't know my name. By dinner, someone linked me to a Reddit thread where an anonymous account described a man who gave off a vibe. That's all it takes now, a vibe. You don't need facts if you have a feeling. Garrett slid a beer across his counter and didn't sugarcoat it. They'll talk till they get bored. Your job is to outlast their attention span. So I worked. I trained a jumpy lab until her tail forgot to be scared. I fixed a leash grip, a timing mistake, a bad habit. I showed up. I kept my head down because a man doesn't steady a storm by yelling at the wind. He steadies it by staying on his feet. Around midnight, I scrolled through the noise one last time. Strangers diagnosing me from a shaky video, neighbors guessing motives using half-truths and hashtags. I could feel the anger rise, the itch to answer every idiot with the full weight of the facts. I put the phone face down and looked at the stack of documents on my table, neat and quiet and real. Let the mob enjoy its echo. Let them talk. I've got a case, a spine, and time. 3 weeks of silence, then her name lit my screen. I could have ignored it. I answered. Lisa started soft, like a radio turned down low. "Mark, we need to talk." She let the hook dangle. "If you're ready to apologize, we can try counseling." There it was. Mercy for the price of a confession. Not truth, not facts, a performance. I listened until she ran out of lines. "You want my apology," I said, "for something I didn't do." She pivoted. Boundaries, healing, for Haley's sake. The script was clean. The stage was set. They thought time would soften me into shape. "All right," I said. "Let's talk. Tomorrow. At the house." I kept my voice even, the way you do with a nervous dog. Calm, firm, not 1 inch of heat for her to grab and twist. We hung up. I stared out Garrett's window at the dull shine of his truck under the streetlight. Then I called Brennan. "She wants a meeting," I said. "Do you?" he asked. "I want closure," I said. "Your kind." He exhaled, the pleased kind. "I'll draft and print. We'll meet 2 blocks away. You won't be alone at that door." I pictured the manila envelope, the weight of it, the sound it would make landing in her hands. She invited me to say sorry. I'm going to say served. Brennan called with the calm that makes bad news land harder. "She's likely filing for a temporary restraining order within 48 hours, he said. "If it hits, you lose access to the house and anything inside. Stay clean. Stay quiet. We move first." I set a timer on my phone. 47:59:59. The numbers felt like teeth. I taped a sheet of paper above Garrett's kitchen table, 3 words in thick black marker. Serve, avoid, calm. I read them out loud until my voice steadied. Then I worked the breath. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 6. Again, again. The anger shrank to a shape I could hold without breaking anything. Black coffee, cold water, a shower that burned then cooled. I backed up my phone one more time, checked every file like a man counting parts before a long drive through the night. I sent Brennan a short text, ready, and turned my phone face down, timer still running. When the panic tried to climb back up my throat, I pictured the shepherd releasing on command. Control isn't the absence of pressure, it's the choice you make under it. At 2 a.m., the apartment was quiet except for the AC and the soft buzz of the countdown. I lay on my back and watched the ceiling take the weight I wouldn't give to anyone else. The clock starts now, I told the room, and meant it. When it hits 0, we don't argue. We knock. I parked at the curb and killed the engine. My timer showed hours left, not days. Across the street, a neighbor took position on his porch like a sportscaster. Phone up, elbow braced, ready to narrate my life into a feed that forgets people are real. Another set of eyes slid a curtain back. I kept mine on the walkway. Brennan pulled in behind me, stepped out, straightened his tie like a man about to tighten a bolt. He didn't need to say anything. His presence changed the air. I took a breath, found the ground under my boots, and walked with him to the door I used to open without thinking. Through the glass, I saw motion. Lisa fluffing her hair, smoothing her shirt, hope settling on her face like makeup. She wanted the version of me that apologizes to make her discomfort go away. Behind her, Haley hovered by the hallway, one eye on the living room, one on her phone. That split attention told me everything. They were staging, not healing. I felt the envelope in my jacket, a hard rectangle, heavier than paper should be. Brennan gave the smallest nod. 2 doors down, a car idled. The porch light over us hummed. I rang the bell. The neighbor's camera phone tracked the moment like a rifle scope. Footsteps. The latch clicked. The door opened to Lisa's almost smile. And then Brennan stepped into frame beside me. Lisa opened the door halfway, as if the other half could keep the past from walking in. Her eyes touched Brennan, then snapped back to me. I took the envelope from my jacket and held it where she had to reach. Her name was printed clean across the front. No room for doubt, no place to hide. Her fingers came up slow, and I saw the tremor before she felt it. Paper met skin. That tiny sound was louder than anything either of us could have said. She looked from the envelope to my face like she was waiting for a softer version of me to show up late. He didn't. I kept my shoulders square and my mouth shut. No embrace, no hand on her shoulder, no consolation prize for a choice she made with both eyes open. Her lips parted. Air moved, words didn't. Brennan stayed silent at my side, a steady line on a shaky page. Inside, the living room held still. Pictures, couch, a mug on the table, like a stage after the actors forget their lines. Her voice finally found one word, barely shaped. Divorce? I didn't nod. I didn't flinch. I let the weight of it sit between us until it settled. Then I said the only thing that fit. You've been served. Behind her, the floor creaked, the sound of someone shifting their feet to run. Haley slid into view, arms wrapped around herself like she'd been pulled from cold water. She glanced at the envelope, then me, and produced a quiver so neat it could have been rehearsed. Why are you doing this? She breathed, as if the last 3 weeks hadn't started with her script. Lisa snapped to form, rage over fear. You ambushed me, she said. You bring a lawyer to our home, after everything you've... Brennan cut clean, calm as a level. Ma'am, you're in receipt of a legal document. We'll keep this brief and civil. I kept my silence. Not stubborn, not passive, chosen. The room began to buzz, a neighbor's phone ping, the AC kicking on, my heart settling into a slow, even drum. Haley made her voice small. I don't feel safe. The line landed in the air and looked around for proof. None came. Lisa stepped toward me, chin up, fire in her mouth. You want to blow up this family? Fine, but you don't get to paint yourself the victim. I didn't answer. Truth doesn't audition. Then the doorbell cut through everything. One sharp note, final and official. Brennan's eyes flicked to mine. Lisa's face drained. Haley froze. On the other side of the door stood 2 patrol uniforms and a polite distance. "Welfare check," the taller one said, scanning faces, hands, tension. Of course, anonymous concern, manufactured smoke to justify the fire. The taller officer stood square in the doorway, hands open, eyes reading the room. "We got a welfare call," he said. "Everybody all right here?" Brennan stepped up before anyone else could bend the air. "We're in the middle of a lawful service," he said, voice even, card in hand. "Divorce petition, no threats, no contact beyond this exchange." The officer took the card, glanced at the envelope in Lisa's grip, then at my empty hands. His partner scanned the hallway, the kitchen, the distance between us, measured, not jumpy. Lisa started to wind up. Brennan touched the briefcase latch and gently cut the fuse. "Ma'am, we're finished here shortly. If you have counsel, you'll want them looped." Haley tried a small sound, soft, brittle, designed for sympathy. The cop's eyes slid to her, then back to me, to Brennan, to the door where a neighbor's phone hovered like a little moon. I could feel the lens wanting a scene. I gave it stillness. "We good?" the shorter officer asked his partner. He nodded. The taller one looked from me to Lisa and made the call in a voice that carried just enough. "This is a civil matter. No cuffs, no questions that stick, no win for rumor." They stepped back onto the porch, left a polite nod, and were gone. The neighbor's phone lowered, disappointed. The house took a long breath it didn't earn. Lisa stared at the envelope like it might go off, and because the show didn't move me, she went looking for a prop. "Fine," she said, throat tight. "Then look at this." She went for a drawer and came back with a USB. She held the little stick like a smoking gun. "Messages," she said. "What you sent her." The room tightened around the word. Brennan didn't blink. "Computer," he said, and I set mine on the table, screen already awake. He plugged in the drive. A folder popped up with screenshots lined like dominoes, late-night bubbles, flirty lines, a timeline stitched to make a shape. Lisa's jaw set. Haley wouldn't look directly at the screen. She watched me the way a gambler watches the dealer. "Let's open one," Brennan said, too calm to be faked. He dragged a file into preview, then pulled up the info panel. Dates, creation tags, device name. The truth sitting in plain text where no tears could smudge it. "Interesting," he said, tapping a line. "These were created on an iPhone not registered to my client, and the export timestamps don't match the thread order." He split the window. On one side, a training app video with my cap and sleeve, GPS stamped, time-stamped. On the other, a bubble claiming I was in Haley's doorway at that exact minute. He toggled back and forth until even the furniture knew the math. "Timestamps don't lie," he murmured. "People do." Lisa's fingers tightened on the counter. "Haley?" she whispered, as if the name might reset the world. A bead of sweat slid from Haley's temple into her makeup and left a clean path on the way down. She swallowed, throat clicking loud in the quiet. The neighbor's phone lit up again through the window, hungry for the moment a story breaks. Haley reached for a new tear and couldn't find one. Brennan closed the laptop with a soft click that felt like judgment. The envelope in Lisa's hand suddenly had company, evidence that pointed the other way. "Anything else?" Brennan asked, gentle as a hammer. Brennan went past screenshots and theatrics and opened the iCloud logs, cold numbers on a bright screen. "Let's anchor the timeline," he said. He pulled my location history for the night in question, a training field 10 miles south, start to finish. Then he stacked it against my calendar entry and the client's text confirming the session. Finally, he opened the training app. Video of me in a ball cap and bite sleeve, dog on the pad, GPS and time burned into the corner like a brand. He scrubbed to the exact minute Haley swore I was in her doorway. "The dog hit," I commanded. He released. The camera time matched the phone time, matched the map time. 3 clocks, 1 truth. Lisa's voice broke on the first syllable of my name. She tried again and nothing came out. Her eyes slid from the screen to my face and found no purchase. I didn't gloat. I didn't grin. "You don't celebrate oxygen, you breathe it." Brennan spoke softly, the way you talk when you don't want to scare the deer but you want the shot to land. "This is what we would show a judge." He flipped to the metadata panel and let the room read. Creation tags, export stamps, device IDs. Not my phone, not my thread, not my lie. The silence that followed was heavy and honest. Even the neighbor's camera across the street felt it, lens dipping a fraction like it got the message too. Then Haley tried to talk and tripped over her own start. I didn't mean, Haley began, then swallowed the rest like it burned on the way up. Lisa turned to her with a face I hadn't seen yet, fear meeting doubt in a narrow hallway. What do you mean you didn't mean? She asked, voice frayed. Haley's eyes skipped the way guilty eyes do. Window, floor, phone, anywhere but mine. She reached for tears and only found breath. Words scraped past her teeth, clumsy. They collided and fell. Brennan didn't fill the space. He let it widen. Truth hates interruption because it likes the echo. Haley's phone buzzed on the table. The sound was small, surgical. A preview flashed before she could cover it with her palm. One line from a name she hadn't changed. You told me you'd get him out. Did it work? The room froze around that sentence. Lisa saw it. I saw it. Brennan didn't need to. He'd already read the ending from the middle. Haley fumbled the phone, screen lighting her face like a cheap spotlight. It's not what it looks like, she rushed. That line is always a confession with makeup on. Brennan lifted a hand, not to stop her, just to mark the moment in his head for later ink. Lisa's shoulders dropped an inch as the foundation under her anger washed away. I didn't move. I kept my hands where they'd been all night, open, empty, clean. The clock on my phone kept ticking under the table, a metronome for a song only I could hear. Outside, the neighbor's camera climbed for a better angle, hungry for blood. It wasn't getting blood. It was going to get the truth. Haley? Lisa said it like a ladder she couldn't climb. Her knees found the couch and missed. She folded into it, both hands over her face as if darkness could roll the tape back 3 weeks. Haley's crying went louder, not truer. The sound filled the room but didn't touch the ground. I stayed where I was, hands open, breath even, not a mile of give left in me. Lisa peeked through her fingers and looked at me like a drowning person spots shore too late. Mark. I didn't give her a word to hang this on. I let the facts sit, heavy and patient, the way an anvil teaches a hammer manners. Her shoulders shook. I thought, she said. The sentence broke under its own weight. Look at the screen, Brennan said, gentler than he had to be. He didn't need to add anything. The timeline sat there, solid as a brick wall. Lisa's eyes went from the data to Haley to me, and I watched belief drain out the same door it came in. I spoke once, low, the way you speak in a church you used to love. You didn't trust me when it mattered. No heat, no performance. Just the truth with its boots on. Her hands slipped from her face. There was nothing for her to grab except consequences. Haley hiccuped another sob. Lisa tried to gather herself from the pieces on the floor. We can fix this, she whispered to the room, to the past, to anyone who'd let her. We can make it right. I didn't answer. I let the silence make it honest. Then she reached for the only lifeline she had left. Counseling, she said. Counseling, she repeated, climbing back into certainty like a script she knew by heart. We go together. We set boundaries. You work on whatever made you... She couldn't even name the lie now that it had choked her. So she named me instead. Mark, you need help. There it was. Not an apology, a diagnosis. If I admit to being broken, the story stays clean, and she gets to call it healing. I rolled my wedding ring between finger and thumb the way a man tests a coin for weight. 4 years of everything that counts, pressed to a circle. I remembered drive-through coffee, bad TV, her laugh on Good Fridays, and the door slamming when it mattered most. I slid the ring into my pocket. Not a gesture, a decision. I'm not sick, I said. I'm sober. Her mouth opened. I cut it clean, voice steady enough to carry across water. Therapy isn't a broom for your mess. It won't sweep facts under the rug. She blinked fast, like the light hurt. I'm saying I'm willing to work on us. You set the house on fire, I said. Now you want me to mop the smoke. Haley watched the floor like it might save her. Brennan said nothing, which is how you clap in rooms like this. Lisa reached across the small distance between us with a shaking hand. "Please, Mark. We can heal." "You don't start healing," I said, "until you stop lying about the wound." Her hand hung in the air, empty. And for the first time all night, she understood I wasn't negotiating. Brennan waited until the room stopped shaking. "We can press criminal charges," he said, voice level. "False accusation, harassment. We've got enough to open the door." He let it hang there like a switch he could flip with one finger. I looked at Lisa, wrecked on the couch, and Haley, staring at her shoes like they might erase her. The easy move would have been to push, make the pain official, get even. I thought about what even really means. Court dates, headlines in a town that eats rumor for breakfast, me repeating this night to strangers with badges, Haley dragged into statements and cross, Lisa putting on better tears, more fire, less truth. Brennan read my silence. "It's your call." I rolled the ring once in my pocket and left it there. I met Lisa's eyes long enough for the message to land. "I'm done being the villain in your story, but I won't be your executioner either." Then I looked at Haley, and whatever anger I had got old and tired. She wanted to break a family to get her father back. She didn't think about fallout. That's not an excuse. It's a fact. I shook my head. "No criminal charges," I said. "Just the divorce." Brennan nodded once like a judge who agrees and keeps his pen moving. Lisa closed her eyes. Haley's breath caught and didn't finish. The neighbor's lens hovered and got nothing it could sell. Justice isn't always a gavel. Sometimes it's a closed door. "All right," Brennan said. "We're done here." I turned toward the hall. I took one last look at things that used to mean something. The framed beach photo we never went back to, the dent in the coffee table from moving day, the mug with my name still wet inside from the morning I left. They didn't move. Neither did I. You can stand in a museum of your own life and feel nothing but dust. Lisa said my name behind me, small and breaking. "Mark." The word didn't have a place to land. Outside, the neighborhood had gone quiet like it was waiting for a car crash that never came. The porch light hummed. Somewhere a AC unit kicked on. It all sounded honest. I walked to the door. The handle fit my hand the way it always had. For a second, one heartbeat, I felt the old muscle memory try to turn me around, clean it up, carry the weight, make everyone okay. That part of me had done enough tours. I opened the door to the evening and the low sound of tires on asphalt. I didn't look at Lisa. I didn't look at Haley. I didn't give the neighbor's camera a face to misunderstand. Brennan stepped aside so I could pass. That's what good men do when another man finally chooses his own ground. On the threshold I stopped, not for drama, for closure. My fingers loosened. The knob slipped from my palm. I let it go. The door eased itself shut behind me, wood on frame, soft and final. I felt the air change, lighter, colder, cleaner. I walked down the steps without turning back. The street took me in like a country road after a long shift. I had a place to be, and this wasn't it anymore. By morning, the neighborhood feed had flipped its script. The same porch camera that painted me a monster now posted a soft correction. Maybe he was innocent. Comments crawled in like ants. Didn't see the whole thing, could be misunderstanding, we shouldn't rush to judge. The same mouths that cheered the fire were suddenly tasting smoke and pretending they never struck a match. My phone pulsed with DMs from people who hadn't texted me once when it mattered. Screenshots. Saw the video. If you ever need anything. That late kindness you get when the pitchforks go dull. I didn't open a single one. I toggled off data. No 3G, no dopamine. The silence was clean. Outside, the morning ran on schedule. Trucks on the road, birds on power lines, heat already rising off the street. I snapped a leash on a shepherd I was boarding, walked him to the field, unclipped the line, and let him take the horizon. He ran like a body built for yes. I breathed in and let the lungs do what they were made to do. I kept my eyes on something real, muscle, dirt, sun, until the noise in my head fell in line behind it. People change their tune when the crowd does. That's not conscience. That's weather. I don't live by weather anymore. I scratched the dog's chest when he trotted back, tongue lolling, eyes bright. "Good boy," I said, and meant it. I don't need their approval. I need my peace, and I know how to keep it. Brennan set it up like surgery. Fixed date, fixed hour, no contact. Garrett drove, hands easy on the wheel, radio low. We didn't talk much. Men don't have to when the job is simple. In, out, no bleeding. The house felt staged when we walked in. Too neat, too quiet, like a museum exhibit titled Marriage, 2019 to 2023. The dent in the coffee table. The beach photo from a trip we only took once. The pantry still labeled in Lisa's handwriting. Her lawyer hovered in the kitchen, arms folded, doing that neutral face attorneys learn in year one. I boxed what was mine, and only mine. My books, dog training manuals, paperbacks with cracked spines, a photo of my parents on their porch, mom squinting at the sun, dad's arm loose around her shoulder. A few tools I brought into the marriage and never left lying around. The kind of things that follow a man because they're part of his hands. Garrett carried a tub to the truck and didn't ask about the rest. I stood in the garage longer than I planned, palm resting on the workbench I built against that wall the first spring. It had my measurements baked into it, the exact height of my comfort, the exact width of projects I never finished. It belonged to this address more than it belonged to me. I stepped back, let my hand fall, and left it. Some things earn their place by staying put. On the way out, I checked each box once, felt the weight, and knew I hadn't taken anything I'd need to give back. Some things belong to the past. Text from a number I didn't recognize. It's Haley. Then a wall of words. Long, careful, built to sound older than 18. She was so sorry. She didn't mean to ruin anything. She deserved the hate. She said she hadn't slept. She said she wished she could take it back. She said, please. The phone lit my hand, then the room, then the parts of me that used to jump when someone asked for mercy. I read every line once, no skimming, no hunting for the sentence that would make this easy. There wasn't one. The truth had already done its job. What came next wasn't forgiveness or fire. It was boundaries. I didn't type. I didn't rehearse the noble reply or the angry one. I let my thumbs stay where they were and my jaw do nothing. I thought about the first night, the door, the keys in Lisa's palm, the neighbors feeding on a rumor. I thought about that shepherd's breath lining up with mine, slow, honest, unshakable. On the screen, I know you hate me. I don't. Hate is busy, and I'm done doing unpaid work for people who made choices with their eyes open. I selected the thread, delete, block. The phone went dark and stayed that way. The room felt bigger by an inch, maybe two. Small inches build a life. Garrett asked from the other room if I needed anything. No, I said, and I meant all of it. The next morning, Brennan called. Her attorney wants a meeting, he said. Says there's new information. Set it, I told him. I'll be there. Ms. Whitaker's office smelled like paper and polish, the kind of room where voices learn to behave. She shook hands like a metronome, precise, then led us to a conference table that had seen more endings than beginnings. Brennan sat to my right, pen still, eyes clear. I sat straight and stayed there. Lisa came in last. No mascara this time, no armor. Her eyes were red the way a bad night looks in daylight. She didn't try the soft smile or the sudden warmth. She took a chair and held it like it might keep her from falling. Whitaker ran the preface, mediation language, timelines, terms, her tone neutral as a ruler. Then she glanced at Lisa. My client has something she wishes to say. The room shifted a degree, the way it does before a storm decides whether to break or pass. Lisa looked at me like a window she was finally willing to open. Her voice came out small and accurate. She lied about everything. No music under it, no perfume on it. Just the sentence placed in the middle of the table like a knife. It didn't make me taller. It didn't make me whole. It made the air honest. She kept going. How Haley admitted the plan, the messages, the reason she thought a broken family could be rearranged if I disappeared. She said she was sorry. She said she didn't know how to fix what she'd broken. I let the silence stand up for me. Brennan noted the statement, date and time, a clean line in a clean hand. Whitaker slid a box of tissues across the grain. No one touched it. We proceed as filed, Brennan said. I didn't add a word. Lisa reached across the table like the distance itself could fix what she broke. Her hand hovered, trembled, waited. "Mark, please," she said, voice thin as paper. "I'm asking for forgiveness. We can try again. We can start over." She searched my face for soft ground and found none. I kept my hands flat on the wood, knuckles calm, the way you steady a board before you cut it. "I'm listening," I said, because listening is free. She poured out promises, counseling, boundaries, new rules for a house that burned 3 weeks ago. Every sentence came dressed in effort and arrived too late. "You're weeks too late," I told her. No heat, no victory lap. Just a simple measurement of time and damage. Her eyes shined like she'd found the lever that might move me. It didn't. I remembered the porch, the keys in her palm, my name passed around the block like trash, and the silence she chose over the man she married. "I'm not coming back." The words were quiet and complete. Across from me, Brennan gave a small nod, the kind men use to mark a finished job. Ms. Whitaker made a note without looking up. The room exhaled into a new shape, one where truth didn't have to beg for a chair. Lisa's hand stayed in the air for one breath too long, then fell. She swallowed an apology that had nowhere left to go. I stood, my chair barely touching the carpet, no slamming, no speech. Just a man keeping the line he finally drew. After that, it got simple. Whitaker slid a packet forward, tabs like mile markers. Brennan walked me through it with a steady finger. The house was mine before the vows and would be mine after. Title clean, no claim. Joint accounts split along dates we both could count. Deposits, bills, the dull arithmetic of two people who once shared a cart at the grocery store. No kids between us, no custody knots to tighten and cut. Vehicles stayed where the titles said they belonged. Furniture went by receipt or by mercy. Dates were set. Response window, mediation window, court date. Brennan liked clean calendars. So do I. He checked language for traps. Whitaker checked for dignity. There wasn't much to salvage, and for once, everyone in the room honored that truth. Lisa signed where she had to, eyes low, pen scraping like a small animal. I initialed my boxes, steady. The air took on that courthouse taste even outside a courthouse. Paper, ink, the end of a hallway. Brennan stacked the signed pages, squared the corners with his palm, and said what needed saying. Uncontested. Clean break. No triumph. Just a status update with teeth. I felt lighter in inches, not pounds. That's how freedom arrives to men like me, in small, exact measurements. We stood. Chairs rolled back. Whitaker thanked us for the professionalism, code for no blood on her floor. Lisa didn't speak. I didn't either. On the way out, Brennan tapped the folder. "We keep moving," he said. I nodded. The door opened to a sky that didn't care either way, which is exactly how I wanted it. Morning came without asking how I slept. I put on boots, grabbed the sleeve, and met a dog who didn't care about rumors, only timing. Sit, down, release. That rhythm taught my hands what my head forgot. Simple commands still work. By noon, I was back at Garrett's table, highlighter and pen, working through forms and dates until the paperwork felt less like punishment and more like progress. Brennan texted questions. I answered with screenshots and calm. Evenings were the couch, the low hum of a game, the clink of a bottle against wood. Garrett talked when it mattered and didn't when it didn't. We hit the small gym 2 blocks over. Barbell, breathing, a little iron to tell my bones were not done. Back at the apartment, I kept dinner honest. Eggs, toast, an apple cut into clean quarters. No feasts, no starving. Enough. Day by day, the noise lost its shape. I measured my life in reps, clients booked, pages signed. I slept heavier, woke earlier. The phone stayed quiet because I let it, and the world didn't end. In the mirror, my eyes stopped asking questions I couldn't answer. One night, after a long set, I sat on the edge of the spare bed and just counted 10 slow breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Somewhere around 7, my chest stopped fighting me. Somewhere around 10, the knot I'd been carrying remembered how to untie itself. The metronome came back to center. My breathing found home again. East Austin, 1-story fenced yard that actually holds. The garage had good bones, bare studs, poured slab, a door that didn't complain. I walked it with the landlord and kept my questions short. Electrical, water, noise after 9. He shrugged at all the right places and handed me a pen. I signed like a man who finally knows what his name is worth. Garrett pulled the truck around and we moved the boxes we'd stacked like Tetris in his living room. Books first, spines I knew by feel, then the tools, then the little things that make a place honest. A coffee mug that fits my hand, a hook for keys by a door that's mine. I stood in the garage and saw it the way you see a dog before the first command. Potential, not performance. Mats in the corner. Cones and jump bars stacked clean. A line down the center where the work happens. By late afternoon, the sun bounced off the fence, turning the yard the color of old whiskey. I ran a line from the outlet, tested the lift on the garage door, and heard the motor say yes without drama. Inside, I screwed in warm bulbs. The room glowed the way a good bar does, steady, forgiving. I set a bowl on the counter, dropped my keys in it, and waited for the sound. Metal on ceramic, sharp, final. No one's hand reached to take them. No one asked me to leave them behind. I walked the length of the garage once more, measured it with my steps, and drew the boundary that didn't exist 3 weeks ago. My house. My rules. Word got out the way it always does in Texas, through porches and pickup beds. A client told a buddy, who told his sister, who showed up with a skittish blue heeler, and a look that said she hadn't slept right in months. I kept it simple. Leash work, eye contact, calm hands. Calm. In the yard, I laid out a small obstacle course. Cones, a wobble board, a jump bar low enough to earn a win. Dogs don't need speeches. They need chances to be brave and rewarded when they are. By the second week, my calendar stacked tight. Mornings for obedience, afternoons for problem dogs, evenings for folks who punch a clock late. The fence line carried the music of a good day, nails on grass, paws thumping mats, happy barks that didn't bother anybody because they were honest. I hung a whiteboard in the garage and wrote the same header each morning. Show up, do the work, underline once. Violet brought the rescue mutt back just to let me see him jog in, tail loose like a flag at half-staff and climbing. He trusts me now, she said. He trusts you, I corrected, and meant it. Trust is transferable when you model it straight. Between sessions, I wiped down sleeves, coiled lines, logged progress. The routine had weight and rhythm. My hands smelled like leather and cleaner, not quartz and panic. A man can rebuild a life with small, repeatable wins. He can stack them until the noise outside can't find purchase. I didn't celebrate out loud. I smiled like someone who finally recognizes his own days. I only needed coffee and eggs. The grocery store was sleep-warm, neon steady, the kind of place where nobody knows your story unless you hand it to them. I turned down produce and stopped. Lisa was there, reading a label she wasn't seeing, fingers tight on a bag of spinach that didn't deserve it. For a second, the old reflex reached for the old script. Fix, smooth, make easy. Then it passed, quick as a hiccup. She looked up and found me. No mascara, no armor, just a tired face in hard light. Her mouth opened like it remembered my name before her pride did. I didn't give it a place to land. I met her eyes, steady, gave a small nod that acknowledged history without inviting a sequel, and kept my cart moving. No spike in the chest, no heat up the neck, no hunger to win, to lecture, to be seen as right, just nothing. A clean, quiet nothing that felt like standing on my own feet. Behind me, I heard the soft clack of her cart settling back into motion. Whatever words she brought to the aisle, they stayed on the shelf. I paid at self-checkout, bagged my ordinary, and stepped into the honest air. The sun caught the hood of my truck and reminded me what mattered. Keys in my pocket, a house that answers to me, a calendar full because I filled it. Some stories end with a bang. Mine ended in a grocery store with a nod and a turn. I didn't need closure. I had distance, and that was plenty. Garrett told me in the shop, wiping his hands on a rag that had seen better days. Heard through a buddy, Haley moved in with her dad. Different state. He said it like checking a torque, not gossip. I nodded once. The air between us stayed plain. He added, Lisa's by herself now. The impact didn't land loud. It landed true. I thought about the hallway that night, the staged tears, the text on her phone asking if it worked. I pictured a packed bag and a door that didn't argue. People think consequences are ideas. They're not. They're mail. They show up with your name on them. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel pity, just the quiet math of cause and effect working the way it always does when you stop trying to bribe it. Garrett waited to see if I had something to say. I didn't. We stood there with the hiss of the air hose and the tick of a cooling engine and let the world be what it is. I drove home slow, windows down, heat leaning in. The yard met me like it always does now, fence straight, gate honest. I fed the dog, fixed a simple dinner, wiped the counter, and watched the sun back out of the day. Consequences have addresses, I said to the empty room. Not cruel, not kind, just accurate. I turned off the kitchen light and felt nothing tug at me to turn it back on. Tomorrow had a date with a judge. I wanted clean sleep. I laid my one good suit on the bed, charcoal, pressed, no frills, and checked the pockets for ghosts. A folded note with the court time, a square of lint, nothing else. I shaved slow, tied the knot twice, then stood in front of the mirror and practiced one sentence. Name, address, yes, Your Honor. You don't win days like this with speeches. You win them by being the most boring truth in the room. Brennan called while flipping pages I could hear. We walk in, we confirm the filings, we keep it clean, he said. I've scrubbed the language twice, no surprises. I pictured his finger running the edges of the folder until the corners squared up. We finish this, he added, and I could feel the ground move a half-inch closer to level. I ate early, eggs again, black coffee, set 2 alarms I wouldn't need. I cleaned my boots because details matter when your story's been dragged through mud. Then I turned everything off. Phone face down, TV dark, house quiet, and lay flat, breathing even, counting seconds like a metronome. 10 in, 10 out, until sleep took the job I hired it for. Morning arrived cold and thin, the kind of dawn that tells the truth without trying. I buttoned the jacket, felt the weight settle right, and dropped my keys into the bowl. Metal on ceramic. That sound had become a small prayer. I locked the door behind me and headed to the truck. No speeches, no music, just the road and a finish line with my name on it. Courthouse hallways smell like paper and old air. Brennan and I stood under a clock that didn't care. Across from us, Ms. Whitaker murmured to Lisa, low, tidy, professional sorrow. No mascara, no story left to sell, just paperwork and a pen. We filed into a small courtroom that looked like a classroom with heavier wood. The judge glanced over the file as if it were a grocery list. Names confirmed, dates confirmed, no kids, no property dispute, no property. Uncontested, clean. Brennan answered the questions with yes, Your Honor, and the exact number of syllables needed. I did the same. Lisa kept her eyes on the table. Whitaker did the talking for her. The whole thing moved like a conveyor belt, slow, steady, inevitable. The judge reached for the red stamp. It hovered a beat, then came down with a sound you feel more than hear, seal to paper, consonant to vowel, the end of a sentence. Divorce is granted, he said. You're officially single. 30 minutes, door to door. Brennan gathered the copies, squared the stack with his palm, and nodded once like a mechanic closing a hood. We thanked the court and stood. No hugs, no speeches, just chairs scraping, shoes on tile, a hallway that pushed us back into the day. In the corridor, Lisa looked up like maybe there was a last line that could fix the script. There wasn't. I gave her the same nod I gave in the produce aisle and moved on. Outside, the Texas sun didn't blink. Brennan checked his watch. Lunch? Yeah, I said. Let's eat. We left the building lighter by a piece of paper and heavier by nothing at all. We hit a diner off I-35 that serves coffee like a promise and pie like regret. Booth vinyl creaked when we sat. Brennan loosened his tie by a 1/4 inch. That's him doing cartwheels. He ordered black coffee and whatever special wasn't trying too hard. I matched him. How do you feel? He asked. Light, I said. Like someone took a backpack off my ribs. He nodded. That's what closure feels like when you earn it. Garrett slid into the booth a minute later, smelling like shop air and honest sweat. How'd it go? Quick, I said. Official. He studied my face. You gonna start dating again? Not in a hurry. I stirred the coffee and watched the swirl settle. I need time with me. He grinned. Fair. Women like a man who knows his own yard. We ate like men who had work to do afterward. Simple, straight, plates cleared. Brennan passed me a folder with final copies and a comm that could anchor a ship. "File these someplace safe," he said. "Then forget where for a week." Outside the window, traffic shouldered south, semis dragging their shadows. I pictured my house, the fence, the garage, the whiteboard with tomorrow's names already on it. No audience, no verdict. Just hours I could spend the way a man spends what's his. "Thanks," I told Brennan, "for the quiet." He smiled the way lawyers do when that's the win they were after all along. Garrett slapped the table once. "All right then, back to work." "Back to work," I said, and the words landed clean. The email hit mid-afternoon, subject line, "Final accounting, case closed." Brennan doesn't waste words. Bullet points, clean as cuts, accounts divided down to the cent, fees settled, filings logged, no open items, file archived. He thanked me for being steady. I stared at the screen long enough to feel nothing big, just a small click somewhere inside where gears finally catch. I scrolled once more out of habit and felt the reflex to save it, to keep the proof in case the wind changed. Then I remembered all the proof that mattered lives offline. The fence I built, the key bowl by my door, the calendar with names who know me for the work I do, not the rumor I outlived. I hovered over the trash icon and let it go. Delete. No folder. No shrine. On cue, the shepherd nudged my leg with a tennis ball gone soft and sandy at the seams. Eyes up, tail writing his opinion across the air. I took the ball and felt the simple weight of a thing that knows its purpose. We walked to the yard. The light had that late-day gold that makes even chain link look kind. "Ready?" I asked. He didn't blink. I sent the ball long, out toward the far fence where the grass runs rough. He tore after it like a body that forgives. When he came back, chest heaving, eyes lit, I rubbed the spot behind his ear. "Good boy," I said, and meant every syllable. Then I washed my hands, made coffee, and went back to tomorrow's list. I kept the barbell honest. No hero sets, no skipping legs. 5 by 5, week by week. Sweat made the floor tacky and the day simpler. Tuesday nights I joined a rec softball team, men with real jobs and bad knees who shake hands like they mean it. They didn't ask about my past because I didn't offer it. We talked ERAs and cheap gloves and who's bringing ice. That anonymity felt like a clean shirt. Back home, the house started to sound like mine. The fridge hum found a pitch I recognized. The garage held my shape. I put photos on the wall that belonged to me before all this. My folks on their porch, my brother holding a fish that wasn't as big as he said. I bought a rug that didn't match on purpose, and a lamp that throws warm light even when the day doesn't. New clients learned my name from other mouths I trusted. He shows up. That's all I ever wanted on a resume. In the evenings, I'd sit on the back step with a glass of water, watch the dog nose the fence line, and let the heat bake the last of that winter out of my bones. The sunset here does its job. Texas purple smudged with orange, quiet as a vow you can keep. I said one out loud, just for me. Peace costs everything, and it's worth it. I finished the water, set the glass down, and looked at the whiteboard inside. Tomorrow had clients, reps, miles. A life with edges I could trace. And for once, the man who'd live it felt like someone I knew. I'll keep it simple, the way the truth likes it. I was accused, pushed out of my own house, tried by rumor. I didn't beg. I documented. I hired a man who speaks in facts. I served papers. And when the timelines lined up and the metadata stopped the music, the lie fell over by itself. I didn't celebrate. I walked away. Here's what I learned. Don't bargain with broken trust. Once someone shows you they'll believe the worst version of you without air, they'll do it again. Don't donate your breath to a fire that eats it. Dignity is worth more than reconciliation built on a false confession. If your healing requires me to lie about who I am, it's not healing. It's a costume. The truth doesn't need applause. It just needs a place to stand. Sometimes that place is a courtroom. Sometimes it's a quiet garage with a whiteboard and a leash hung where you can reach it. Either way, you don't have to scream. You just have to show up and hold the line. I chose myself, not the bitter, louder version, the steady one. The man who throws a ball for a dog at dusk, locks his own door, sleeps in his own peace, and wakes up to work that matters. Tomorrow's on the board. Clients, reps, miles. Nothing dramatic. Everything honest. If you're where I was, hear me plain. You can't fight for someone who won't fight for you. Life goes on. Let it, then meet it on your feet.